Saab dealer.
He sure did.
What did I do?
Yeah, but Mr. Feldman is in for one tremendous day. Now, keep in mind that bright yellow number 3, he's starting in the back of this pack. We're going to go green here in just a second, and you'll be impressed.
We needed a car company that had a really suitable motor. That meant a pretty powerful motor and a reliable motor. We also needed a car company that had a good reason to go racing.
I like motorsports. I've been involved in one form or other of motorsports for the past 30 years. And when Skip came along with his dream of a series with equally matched cars with identical power plants, it seemed a natural for us.
While drivers learn on the racing circuit, Saab also continues to be amazed at what it is learning about their engines. The exact same 16-valve turbo engine Saab puts in its passenger cars.
I remember back in the mid-'60s, I visited Roger Penske's race shop and I saw a bunch of Chevrolet engines and gearboxes in crates stacked right up to the ceiling, and they had stenciled on them something I thought was really neat. It said, "For testing to destruction only." And really that's what you do in racing. We have learned a few things. Racing, of course, puts the engine to the ultimate test. We've learned some things about isolating the electronics from high-frequency vibrations and stuff like that, but basically nothing's broken. It's wonderful.
I'm Larry Nuber, and this is former National Super V champion Peter Kuhn.
No rubber is down. You see the car sliding around there, and there's a Stupanen going straight, almost kissing the tire wall, and Feldman almost bagging him on the way by. He's lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions in that, and we've had a... Number 10 on the Barber Saab Pro Series, we have come to beautiful downtown San Antonio, Texas, for a temporary road course, 11 turns, 1.9 miles, only 3 races to go in the series this year, and a very tight points battle. A hot, sticky, oppressive day here, 84 degrees, low humidity though, with a 20% chance of rain, mostly sunny throughout the race day. Gary Lee along with David Hobbs, and David, as we say, only 3 races to go in a very, very tight point standings.
Very tight indeed. Ken Murillo still at the top there with 126 points. Jeremy Dale right behind him with just 120. Feldman with 90. Tim Coleman 85. And of course Greg Hobbs with 54.
Mark Wymorney next at 51. It's Robbie Buell, Hendrik Tenkati, and in fact Hendrik Tenkati was starting on the pole today for the second straight race as the field begins to roll away. Once again a 1.9-mile circuit, 11 turns. First time here ever for the race drivers. So as a race driver, what are you looking for the first time?
Well, of course, the first thing you've got to do is learn the circuit. One of the things that makes this circuit particularly difficult to learn is A, it's very, very bumpy. And the second thing is it's also incredibly slippery. There seems to be 2 reasons for that. One, there's a lot of construction going on right in the middle of this circuit. It goes around the convention centre and a new hotel that's being built, so it's covered in dust. And the other thing is that not much rain falls in San Antonio, and with a lot of everyday street traffic, trucks, buses, cars and things, there's an awful build-up of oil on this circuit. Drivers are finding it very, very slippery.
David, also apparent on a street course, the concrete walls both sides, no place for the drivers to run off to get in trouble.
Absolutely nowhere to go, no green grass to run over whatsoever, all concrete.
The second straight race, the Dutchman Hendrik Tenkati will start on the pole, 21, John Stewart outside in car 81. In the second row, a 3-time winner this season, leading points, Ken Murillo in number 33, also a winner for Spellman, number 3. In the third row, always a fast qualifier, Robbie Buell at number 4, a former winner, Jeremy Dale at number 26. In the fourth row, 2-time winner this season, car 17, Andy Sweat in car 57.
Ken Murillo and Jeremy Dale.
In the fifth row,
Those two guys have been with the series a few years now, and boy, they started putting on the show back in the day. They're only
move now to row 6 on the inside, number 9, Matt Wyborny, and number 1, Greg Hobbs. In the 6th row, on the inside, making the 7th row, Stephen Hines.
needed to get home.
Number 19 is Brian
Only to get home, what's going to
In row
happen
8, inside, car number 25, Terry Marshall, and number 2, Tom Allen. Row 9. Number 18, Ken Neal. Number 71, Rex McDaniel. Finally in row 10, driving alone in car number 11, is Greg Gillespie. 1.9 miles, 11 turns through the city streets, the first time ever downtown San Antonio. It is a hot day, and this could really affect the driver's comfort in the cockpit.
Well, of course, the drivers in the bigger cars did find it very hot. These guys have only got a half-an-hour race, but only half an hour. It seems like a long time when you're out there in the heat. There you see them going down what will be the finish road. They're coming round the corner to Marble Street. Start early will be here on Marble Street. They pull up to the start line.
Oh, it's a good jump. We saw Stubinen slide just a bit. It's a good start, though, from car number 21. That is Henrik Pincani. He is a friend of Ari Kleindyke that wants to race in this country next year. Would like to run the Indy cars. But right now, he has the lead in the Barber Saab race here at San Antonio. And third is Murillo. Murillo presently leads the points standing forward. There's looking Jeremy Dale in number 26 back to the lead pack. And there is the leader beginning to pull away.
All the jockeys in position here. They come down to the hairpin. And Ken Murillo getting inside John Estupinen. Estupinen running wide there. Very wide. Not quite in the tire.
And almost gets chopped off by Feldman in car number 3. Now, what would be the problem there? He simply missed his shift or missed the turn.
Well, I think he just missed brake. He didn't outbrake himself.
Here's the man that's chasing right now from second spot. Murillo from San Ramon, California.
He's now being really pressed by Feldman and the yellow car.
But keep in mind now, these are not ground effect cars, so you see a lot of sliding about as they go to that chicane. The car will get upset. The Barber Saab Pro Series is brought to you by BM Goodrich CA Radios. We make your car perform. By Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX. Keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And by Saab. Test drive a new Saab at your local dealer. So the Dutchman continues the leader. Henrik Pincani, Ken Murillo is second, and Bruce Feldman third. More racing from San Antonio after this. We're back for Barber Saab Pro Racing, San Antonio, Texas. Jerry Leonel and David Hobbs are leader now by a car length. Henrik Pincani slides a bit. Ken Murillo is second.
Henrik Pincani really slid quite a lot as he went into that tight corner. They're now sweeping through Bowie, which is a series of length right sweep. Very fast and very blind, but in these little low single seat places you can't see over those walls anyway, so you can hardly tell where the road's going to go next. Exactly.
Feldman now back to in third, several car lengths back. There is a look at Henrik Pincani, the Dutchman in car 21. Ken Murillo leading the points. He's won 3 times this season. He rides in second position on 4 or 5 car lengths on the lead, and closing third is Bruce Feldman.
Lead car just pushing that outside wall on the outside. That blue car that's coming there, that's William Henderson, he's a local driver.
Oh, David, there's Greg, your son at number 1, and he slid at 57. We did not see what transpired. There been a lot of damage. Both drivers run away from their disabled cars, and Greg climbs over that wall there. Look at the scattered debris.
Don't talk about the scattered debris. I can see it quite well, thank you very much.
Of course, the drivers actually release these cars. They pay for the damage.
Unfortunately, the driver or close relative,
Maybe a father in this case.
maybe a father. There we see some of the damage further up the road. The yellow flag is out. Obviously, the couple of wheels lying up there. Looks like a bit of a nose cone down here. Marshall coming to survey the damage. No doubt they'll be sending somebody out.
Markings there on the table. Look at this pass on the inside. Murillo got totally out of shape, and Bruce Feldman sneaks by on the inside.
Oh, and Henderson is right over Murillo as well. Henderson, of course, the newcomer to the series.
Right behind Henderson, and they are very, very slow. A very rough racetrack.
They're really hammering a lot through here. There's the yellow flag waving because just around the corner here.
Oh, Robbie Buell and car number 4 into a wheel. He's on the brake, slides into car 57, extending damage. Let's see if Buell is okay. There is one of the corner workers standing down there next to the crash, and Buell is still in the race car, now moving about. He slaps the belt back. He is climbing out, looks over his shoulder. But Robbie Buell hit the debris. Apparently didn't see the yellow. He hits the debris, and look at the damage now in the parties of the racetrack. Buell is okay.
There seems to be some pretty good yellow flagging to me there. going far too fast. And of course, Robbie Buell was completely blindsided by Henderson in the blue car, who swerved to miss the wheel. Robbie Buell
left front wheel off. He has no control of the car. Now he can't steer it. Only climbs on the brakes. He's sliding right to the car 57. And look at the head-on collision. Well, we've seen some terrible crashes here, but the drivers have walked away because of safety. Quick back are brought to you by new Quaker Save with QSX. Keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. Although these cars can go up to 160 miles an hour, the car is a very safe race car to drive. In fact, it's very much like a sprint car or a midget in construction with a very high roll cage that would keep another car or a wheel out of the cockpit. A high roll bar behind the driver's head, another roll bar above the driver's knees, and lots of padding around the helmet, the head area. Also some padding here for shifting gears against this inside bar. In the case of a fire, we have the fire bottle on board. Simply pull this here, ignite that, and that fills the cockpit and the engine compartment with foam. In the case of a quick exit from the race car or an extrication, a quick release steering wheel. The car was tested 1 year ago at the season's final race in Miami. The car was totally destroyed, but the driver was not seriously injured. Hendrick Tenkate continues to lead. Feldman, Murillo, Henderson, and Dale rounding out the top 5. Here's a look at the second 5, 6 through 10. We'll be back with more racing for the streets of San Antonio after these messages. The field continues to be bunched up behind the pace car here at San Antonio. Hendrick Tenkate continues to lead. There is a look at Jeremy Dale, car number 26. He's presently second in the point standings. Has 3 wins this year. Would like to move up here and collect a few more points, enhancing his chance at the championship.
And there we see the pace car pulling onto pit lane. There we see it as Hendrick Tenkate makes a good start there. He decides to get going. He hasn't seen the green flag yet, but nevertheless he decided to be off. And has put quite a bit of daylight between himself and Bruce Feldman, number 3.
Feldman has some distance now between second and third. That is Murillo in third. He is the points leader with 3 victories. Let's see if they can close up now as they go through the slower section and begin to pick it up again.
There we see him turning onto Martin Street there. Murillo's made a lot of ground up on Feldman in just a few short yards there. Right behind them is Henderson, the local driver. William Henderson hasn't driven the car for 3 years, but is hanging right in there with that lead group.
We talked the last race out about how imperative it is to qualify well, to do well in the race itself here.
Well, it is. On these street courses in particular, the better you qualify, the better chance you have. We've already seen what happens to people who are back in the field earlier on. And here's Murillo really getting Feldman a hard time out. They sweep down Bowie there, coming into the hairpin. Is he going to have a go here? No, decides not to. Right behind him is Henderson, and right behind Henderson is Jeremy Dale. Jeremy Dale will want someone like Henderson taking points away from here because, as you've already said, Jeremy Dale's lying second in this championship, so he doesn't want someone like that spoiling his point chance.
This is a very rough racetrack. It really bounces these cars around.
Oh, it's incredibly rough. And as you can see, they're all staying to the right. See that black line down the inside there? It's very, very rough. As they brake, this is a rough braking area. As they turn onto the big bump as you come out of that corner there, and Henderson really got it sideways
He almost collected the fence right there. Now, in the visibility, is it really distorted because of the roughness of the racetrack?
Well, it does almost shake around enough to distort the driver's view, but of course the main thing is just the sheer discomfort of it. I mean, you're really bouncing around in your car, knocking your elbows and knees and your head banging on that roll bar. It happens all the time, so it does make it very difficult.
Well, Kid Murillo continues to ride in third place in car number 33, and now a gap has opened up between Bruce Feldman and Murillo, and Feldman closes in on Hendrick Tenkate. Tenkate, for the second straight race, started from the pole position. Did very well there. He grabbed the lead this time. The last time out at Rhode America, he really got snookered at the start. Fell back in the pack, but today he has the lead. He's taken that lead from the opening green.
And Feldman has really closed up on him. In fact, all his group have closed right up there. We see them going across that new patch of concrete. See how the wall just sticks up there on the exit on the left? That's also a bit tricky. Down this very fast straight here, that's the fastest straight on the track, you can really see just how much these cars are bumping around. That chicane there is almost flat out.
a little flick of the wheel back and forth.
A real flick of the wheel. Feldman coming up on the outside. I don't think he'll be able to get him around the outside.
Well, he played
Maybe.
it line and sneaks up on the inside. Is he going to make the pass side by side? He's they almost hit together. That's as close as we've ever seen two cars without tangling. And he makes the pass. Look at that, down the front straightaway into that little right-hander back to the left. What a pass.
That was a pass. Tremendously brave pass. Very well executed. He just got the corner onto the pit straight right, pulled up alongside Tencardi and really braved it out. Stayed down that very bumpy pit straight because it is bumpy and the cars, as you saw, bumped really close together.
It appears the track is very slick right there.
In normal everyday life, of course, that's a street junction. There's a traffic light there, so a lot of oil and stuff is dropped on the road.
But look at Feldman start to pull away now. What a gutsy pass, basically. But now he makes it stick and he pulls away from Tencardi. And now a big gap between second and third. Murillo is still third, trying to close in. Henderson back there in fourth, and fifth is Jeremy Dale. Caldwell rides in sixth.
Caldwell's back there, two-time winner this year. All these cars looking very, very evenly matched as they go through the streets here in San Antonio.
And Feldman now has that large gap, slows up as Tencardi closes in. Through the chicane, little flick the wrist to the left, back to the right. Murillo rides in third position, and the local driver Henderson slides just a bit in fourth. Tencardi has a look on the inside, can't make the pass, and Feldman continues to lead. We're coming back with a lot more action from the streets of San Antonio after this. Stay with us. I invite you to join Bob Jenkins and Larry Newber each Thursday for ESPN Speed Week, the driving force in racing coverage, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time each Thursday evening. The race continues here on the streets of San Antonio, Texas. Your leader continues to be car number 3, Bruce Feldman. It was a gutsy move as he passed Hendrik Tencardi down the front straightaway, kind of pulled his way through. And now the gap opens up again, David.
Hendrik Tencardi slides around a bit. All these drivers at the front of this pack, with the exception of Ken Murillo, are pretty experienced. Even Henderson hasn't driven a race car for 3 years. He's had a lot of experience before then. He's over 40 years old. He's older than most of the people in this field. Ken Murillo is the youngest driver in that group, 21 years of age, but he's had quite a bit of experience out on the West Coast. There's someone going just a little bit wide there on the exit of that hairpin as we go.
No room to make a mistake on that exit of that racetrack right there.
Absolutely no room at all. This is one of the closest Barber Saab races we've seen, demonstrating really how equal these cars are. They're all the same engine, the Saab 200 horsepower engine. They use Goodrich radial racing, street racing tyres, and as you can see, keeping the field really close together through the streets.
Greg Gillespie in car number 11 has apparently made contact either with another car or the wall. We can see the damage to the left front wing and the left front suspension. He is okay. He climbs out of the race car. The field circles by. The yellow out just beyond that. Later continues car number 3, Bruce Feldman. There is Tencardi. Second, car number 21. Ken Murillo is third. Henderson is fourth, and fifth is Jeremy Dale.
Jeremy Dale really trying to get around Henderson now. I've noticed just a bit the last couple of laps. He's been all over Henderson like a rug, and he's really, really trying hard to get around Henderson. I'm sure if he gets around him, he will actually make ground on those 3 leaders.
Right now it appears that he's being held up, and that is very possible on a tight racetrack like this. And although the car running behind may be a little faster, he simply cannot get the momentum to go by.
Can't get by, but I mean, if he gets around, I'm sure he will pull away. Not a lot, but I'm sure he'll pull away a little bit, which obviously he would want to do, because he wants to beat Ken Murillo here in the worst possible way, because Murillo is the only person leading him in points.
Although Tencardi has started from the pole position before at Rhode America and Elkhart Lake, this is by far his best drive. Now, each time by in that corner, he's been looking to the inside, but overall, he's losing ground to Bruce Feldman.
You'll notice there's a bit of different surface there. Stephen Hines has had a bit of a misfortune down at the corner. Oh, that's in the hairpin.
But unlike the other drivers, he's able to engage the gearbox and go back out in competition.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to damage the car in any way. There we see Caldwell at the back of the group there. Jeremy Dale, both sides of Henderson, trying hard. Down the outside, onto that slip bin, that's where the track is slipped and ball. He held it well, he didn't have any trouble, but he still couldn't get round the fox. They call him Bill Henderson the fox.
But to not be in a race car for 3 years and to come out drive what would be a strange race car for him and to run so well.
No, he never driven one of these Barber Saab cars before, so obviously it is strange for him. There we see a replay of Stephen Hines down at the hairpin. Oh, he does go into
Well, he does make some contact, so obviously there had to be some damage at least to the front wings there, but he simply got back on the gearbox. got the car righted and continued on. We're not sure how competitive he may be now.
Now the Dutchman, Hendrik Tenkart, down number 21 car. He's now coming under pretty severe pressure from Ken Murillo. Bruce Feldman seems to have made a bit of a break for it. Put him in a daylight between himself and that 21 car, but Murillo is now all over the Dutchman, giving him a hard time as they go for this chicane. Very, very bumpy here. Bumpy's part of the track.
It's also, I think, very difficult for a young driver to learn not to watch the mirrors and be concerned with the driver behind him when he's being pressured from the back. That driver is running the group at speed. Don't worry about the guy behind him. Run this race.
There's Jeremy Dale going down the inside of Henderson. Does it
He makes the pass
into that chicane. Very tricky place. If you get that wrong, you're going to cause a lot of damage. No tyres there. You're going to run straight to that wall. Murillo alongside. Now you pull both sides. Hendrik Tenkart weaving around Market Street there, trying to hold Murillo out. He succeeds.
There is the traffic there in front of your leader, so perhaps we'll see the pack start to bunch up just a bit. That is car number 18. Racing is Ken Neal from San Antonio, one of the local drivers racing here this afternoon. Right now the field is going to work their way by, and he almost collected Tenkati right there as Tenkati goes by. And there is Murillo getting a jump on the inside. Can he make the pass? No, Tenkati hard on the brakes. You can see the smoke. But look at Jeremy Dale. 3 abreast as they come to that corner, and Jeremy Dale has picked up, what, about 3 spots?
Jeremy Dale's gone from 5th to 2nd.
Second place.
That was all started off by that.
Take a look at it again. Hendrik Tenkati in 2nd place to watch. He locks it up right here. Look at Murillo on the high side. Jeremy Dale trying to sneak up the low side of Murillo. He is going to make the pass. Tenkati is on the brakes, and look at that.
Hendrik Tenkati just pulled that up.
Oh, what a move from 5th to 2nd. We'll be back with more from San Antonio. Jeremy Dale is now up to 2nd. David Hobbs alongside in San Antonio, Texas for the final laps of this Barber Saab Pro Series. And what a move we saw a couple laps ago, putting Jeremy Dale up to 2nd position. In car 26, he is chasing down Bruce Feldman. Henderson has moved to 3rd, and Murillo has dropped to 4th. Caldwell is now 5th, and Tenkati has dropped from 2nd to 6th.
These guys are racing what you could call a very close tight race. There we see William Henderson really giving Jeremy Dale the dusting over, and Murillo desperate to try and get round. Caldwell in all that final model managed to catch up with the whole group, so he could. If he's going to get a good place here, he hopes.
On the final lap, it could be a real good finish for Jeremy Dale, and it happens very late in the contest. He's still being pressured though by Henderson, not too far back. Oh, and a problem for Jeremy Dale. What happened?
Jeremy Dale locked the front race up there, and he just slipped from 2nd back to 6th spot. Exactly what he did the last. Here we see him coming into the hairpin. You'll see the front wheels lock up. Once the front wheels are locked, you obviously the car won't turn. He's got lock on there, but the car is not responding. He's let the brakes off again. The car is responding, but it's all too slow. And Henderson and Murillo have got around him. He just scrapes through there. He does not hit the tire wall. He's pretty lucky there. Caldwell slipped by, as does Tenkati. So Tenkati's gone from 2nd to 6th.
Costly mistake on the last lap. He could have been 2nd with the points. He dropped well back. There's 2nd place. Will Henderson in his first ride in 3 years. Victory will go to this man right here. Car number 3, Bruce Feldman. There is the checkered flag. Feldman wins for the 2nd time this year. Going into the race, he was 3rd in the point standings. A big wave from Bruce Feldman, the 38-year-old, one of the elder statesmen of this racing series. And a big wave from the cockpit of car number 3. Bruce Feldman wins for the 2nd time this season. And it was a gutsy move earlier in the race when he went by Hendrik Tenkati. But look at that, a big wave from Feldman. 9 starts, 2 wins this year, 7 times in the top 5. He is 3rd in the point standings. As we take a look now at the top 5 here at San Antonio, your winner, Henderson, is 2nd. 3rd is Murillo, Caldwell, and Tenkati. There is a look at the second 5 with Dale, Stupinen, Anderson, Bonner, and Marshall. Here's your race summary, and our own Marty Reed talks to our race winner.
Let's talk about where you picked up first place. A real daring move coming down Alamo into that tight chicane.
Yeah, Hendrick got a little wide in there. I could see he was slipping, and I had a better grip coming through the corner. I'd backed off just a shade prior to entering the corner, and I had the exit speed. And when he came out, he was actually sliding toward me, and I was afraid the wheels were going to bump because the concrete walls narrowed down a little bit, and I just said, oh, I hope there's room for both of us here, because I knew if I could get a little bit of a nose ahead of him that I had the chicane, and I caught the lead at that point.
Sometimes you have to want it more than the other guy, and Feldman did today. He's still in third, though, as Murillo continues to lead the point standings. Dale, Feldman, Caldwell, and Greg Hobbs in the top 5. In the second 5 in the point standings, we have Wyborny, Buell, Tincotti, Hines, and Sweat. So we have 2 more races to go on the Barber Saab Pro Series. That will take them to Watkins Glen and to Tamiami Park. This race being brought to you by BF Goodrich TA Radios. We make your car perform. By Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX. Keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And by Saab. Test drive a new Saab at your local Saab dealer. For David Hobbs, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us for all the action from San Antonio, Texas. So long, everybody.
Motor racing is many emotions. Those feelings permeate its grassroots as much as Indianapolis or Daytona. On some days, they are the exhilaration of personal conquest. Some border on the depths of depression. Or they can take the form of the rush of group dynamics. This program is about optimism of the future in the motorsport.
ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World.
Hello everybody, I'm Larry Newber and this is former National Super V champion Peter Kuhn, and we are here today with a review of the 1987 Barber Saab Series. Now, this is a series all about race drivers, not about race cars, and if the competitive index is any indication, it seems to be working.
Well, Larry, they're identically prepared cars, so the driver's ability is at a premium in driving these in this series.
And like in 1986, the 1987 championship wasn't decided 2 or 3 races ago. It came right down to among 3 at the last race.
It did indeed. It was right down to the wire.
Well, we will trace the entire 1987 season, beginning in the Southland, the deep south of the United States of America. The first race in IMSA venue, Miami.
The dawn of the second season of the Barber Saab Series. ESPN Speed World, the site of 7 races of the 1987 series, of course all sponsored by the International Motorsports Association. And it all began here at Miami, the Grand Prix of Miami. This was a course that went through Bicentennial Park, very close to the downtown, the towering skyscrapers of this tropical city. And there you see the starting grid for the first race of the year. There's Jeremy Dale and Ken Murillo on the front row.
I'll tell you, racing on a street circuit for the very first race of the year is extremely difficult. It's like driving through a tunnel, Larry.
Well, these are flat-bottom cars, too, and they don't have the advantage of having that extra downforce when they go into the corners.
They don't, but one factor here is that it's a slower course because it's a tight street circuit, so that is the less significance here.
At the drop of the green flag, Ken Murillo has taken the lead there. Ken Murillo was a man who came on strong in 1986, and there he's being passed by Jeremy Dale.
He is, and Jeremy Dale is another guy that I think we should look for all year. with strong finishes.
When the season began, these were certainly two of the people, as you can see them continuing to trade the lead here in the first lap, along with Bruce Feldman, the guy in the bright yellow car, who was really expected to go at it for the championship here.
Yeah, Jeremy was touted certainly as the man that was going to win it.
Bruce Feldman, now that's an interesting story. Here's a guy who several times in 1986 I felt his emotions were kind of outdriving his driving scales. Look at this long slide, but Feldman stays in the throttle like a good dirt tracker and saves it.
Spectacular. Larry, a year ago, that slide would have been a spin off the racetrack and into the wall. Bruce has come a long way.
He really has. They continue to motor around this course, really one of the better street courses. There you see the number 9 car of Mark Wyborny and John Estupinan, one of the first casualties of the 1987 season.
Yes, and it looks like we also have car 17 pitting.
And there's Eric Keltz. Eric in car number 57. Here's a replay. You can see there were no other cars involved. Just got out from underneath Eric and he backs into the cement.
It's not an uncommon occurrence on street circuits. As I mentioned earlier on, we've had a series of crashes in this race, as you'll see as the season goes on.
Now, very near the end of this race, there is Mark Brainerd from Dayton, Ohio, getting into the outside wall. The leaders are coming around. That's first, second, and third positions. Will they see him in time? And they do. Ken Morello leads the parade of trio around, and Morello picks up win number 1 for 1987. Ken Morello gets the big jump on this season, finishing first, Bruce Feldman second, Mark Wyborny third, Jeremy Dale fourth, and Greg Hobbs fifth. And after the second race of the year at Road Atlanta, people from fifth position on back were shaking their heads. The leaders were still the same, particularly the winner, Ken Morello. He had won the first 2 races in a row. This one followed by Wyborny, Dale, and Feldman. The series is headquartered in Canaan, Connecticut, and if they had a home race course, it'd be here at Lime Rock Park. Tell us about this racetrack.
Well, Larry, this is a racetrack that's only 1.5 miles around, but it's a very difficult place to go fast.
Difficult to go fast. Robbie Buell, by the way, in one of his first rides, if not his first ride in the series, takes the early lead, but it makes it even more of an emphasis on being a driver's circuit.
It does, because of the fact that it's only 1.5 miles around, and we were talking about the competitiveness of this series earlier. The top 16 cars qualified within a second of each other.
There's Tim Caldwell, another one of the new faces, and he was going to have a pretty good season before it was all over here in 1987. There's Jeremy Dale, that white and blue red trim number 26. Again, somebody that a lot of people used as a barometer. They felt if they could run close to Jeremy Dale, they'd have a shot at everything.
Well, there's Buell pitting right here, and he had a mechanical failure. One of the gearbox quit on him. The shift linkage itself was broken, so he was out of the lead. Jeremy Dale, by the way, had been black flagged for jumping the start earlier on, is now making a real charge from the back of the grid.
You see Mark Wyborny has spun around. He was running up in the top 5, but the star of the show this day was this man in the bright yellow maroon trim number 3, Bruce Feldman.
And as the series goes on, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of that yellow car.
There is the series champion from a year ago, Willie Lewis, who chose to not go after the crown this year. This was his only race in 1987, and there you see him being passed by Jeremy Dale very close to the end of this race. And the winner, once again, Bruce Feldman. And he became the new points leader. Ken Morello's 2 wins, good enough for second, followed by Dale, Wyborny, and Hobbs. This season review of the Barber Saab Series is being brought to you by BF Goodrich TA Radials. We make your car perform. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And by Saab. Test drive a new Saab at your local Saab dealer. Back with more right after these few words. After the first 3 races of the season, that competitiveness that we talked about at the top of the show was being threatened by one Ken Morello.
It was indeed, and Ken Morello had won 2 of those 3 races, but there's Bruce Feldman, there's Tim Caldwell. Those are guys we're going to have to look for later in the season.
And not only that, but Feldman had taken over the points lead with some competitive top finishes. So we moved to the 4th race of the season, where Canadian Jeremy Dale wins for the first time. He won at Bobby Rahal Country, that's mid-Ohio. And at Summit Point, the winner was Tim Caldwell. Tim is a newcomer to the series, but opened up a lot of eyes with that win at Summit Point. So the first third of the season was over. Now it's time to pack up their bags and head to the West Coast.
And the series has an altogether different complexion as we arrive at Portland, Oregon. Tim Caldwell, a young driver new to the series, has won that race we referred to. Murillo was no longer sweeping this series. Now, this course at Portland, it's not one of the super fast, huge road courses like Elkhart Lake or Watkins Glen, but particularly here in the front stretch, you can see the cars are almost 8 wide. It really gives you an opportunity to test each other.
Yes, and you do have this long straightaway. That was the proverbial 8-car flare there coming down into turn 1.
Now, you can see if you follow the IndyCar racing that the chicane is not used in this type of racing. Obviously, no, the 8-car wide formation would not have fit through the chicane. There is the second running Mark Wyborny and third running Robbie Buell, and Buell's going to take a shot at him.
Buell takes a shot, and as Wyborny noted after this race, he said, I ran a little bit too much wing in this race, and that's a good example of the draft being used by a car with possibly less wing.
And of course, a little bit too much wing will make you stick well in the turns, but slows you down in the straightaways. There's a good look at Caldwell.
And it is a long, long straightaway here.
The man who was the scourge of the early season, Ken Murillo, and that number 33, and Bruce Feldman. Here's Feldman making another one of those passing moves.
Possibly a little too deep, and he goes wide.
Bruce Feldman doing some dirt track racing. The question now here, will he save it? Feldman apparently stays on the throttle pedal. Peter gets off just at the last moment and saves it.
Larry, that's almost impossible to save a slide like that. That is absolutely incredible and is a great testament to Bruce's ability.
Tim Caldwell from Davie, West Florida. That's in the Fort Lauderdale area. There's a good look at the young man who's really made a name for himself rather rapidly in this series at this point. Running in second is Robbie Buell, and in third is Mark Wyborny as they come down to complete this round of the Barber Saab Pro Series at Portland, Oregon. There you can see Tim Caldwell on the victory stand. The points at this juncture, Murillo, Dale, Caldwell, Feldman, and Greg Hobbs. This is round 7, the beginning of the second half of the season. We are now up in Ken Murillo country. He's from the suburban San Francisco area, San Ramon to be exact, and that is also the same relative geographic vicinity as this racetrack at Sonoma, California.
However, Jeremy Dale stole the pole. As a matter of fact, Larry, that brings up an interesting point here. I talked about the cars being so equal. Jeremy had a very bad crash in practice and qualifying and was forced into a car that he had never driven before at the start of the race.
It's a real test to see whether or not he can perform as well in this car, a car he had never been in before. By the way, that's John Estupinan in that blue number 81, one of his better races. And John slips off the racetrack, giving it a Dale Earnhardt move, keeps his foot in the throttle and saves it. But a good test for Dale, which he passed, by the way. There is Bruce Feldman moving underneath and also taking another position in his route towards the top. Bruce is always an exciting racer. And here, having a crash is R.B. Stewing. He ended up upside down. You see him scurrying out. No injuries to R.B.
Well, I guess he decided to go play a little off-road racing himself.
Yeah, all kinds of racers in all shapes and sizes show up at some of these events. And there is Feldman continuing to make his move towards the front. Greg Hobbs, an interesting story. A nice addition to the series, of course, the son of racing great David Hobbs.
And he's been showing very much promise in this series so far. He hasn't won a race yet, but boy, he's been knocking on the door.
And at the top of your screen, that is Joe Pezza. You can see the racetrack here at Sonoma doesn't have walls all the way around, and sometimes when you lose control, you end up in the dirt.
There's Jeremy hanging it out a little bit. He really drove the wheels off the car at this race.
Wyborny again. You can see Estupinan. We told you earlier he was having a good day. He got off course one time, he saved it, but this time it was beyond saving, and John Estupinan climbs out uninjured, but without question, his day is over. And there's the winner of this race, Jeremy Dale, a Canadian having a strong day running a backup car. And in the new point standings, youth is definitely being served. The first 3 drivers in the point standings, Jeremy Dale, Ken Murillo, and Tim Caldwell, are all under the age of 23. I think the results of the recent races, as they scrambled the points, you could see the top 3 were separated by well less than 10 points, really makes what this series is all about.
It is, and you'll see here how close the racing is as we come down into turn 1. We're going to get another big flare of cars here. Pretty optimistic on the left-hand side of your screen there.
Now keep your eyes peeled very closely because things begin to get a little heated up in the back.
I'll tell you, Larry, this is just like driving on the Long Island Expressway in traffic. When the guy stops in front of you, you better be able to put the brakes on at the same time.
You can see that the origin of this event started way up about in the third row. Drivers leaning heavily on the brakes, and from there on back, lots of confusion.
A bunch of it, and unfortunately these two fellows actually suffered as a result of someone else's mistake.
Now, while all this was going on, Bruce Feldman in the yellow car there, he had pitted.
He pitted for a stuck throttle, so they unstuck the throttle, he went back out, and he tried to work his way back up through the grid.
But officials didn't really like that, did they? That's not the way it's worked traditionally in racing. So they called him in for a second time. You'll see that here in just a second. There is Bruce coming in. A brief discussion with officials, and they explained their point of view. He nods his head and said, well, you got to admit, it was a good try.
Yes, he did look. He looked like the innocent one, didn't he, Larry?
He sure did.
What did I do?
Yeah, but Mr. Feldman is in for one tremendous day. Now, keep in mind that bright yellow number 3. He's starting in the back of this pack. We're going to go green here in just a second, and you'll be impressed with Bruce.
We can't forget Ken Murillo in this as well. He's a guy who's now in the lead, and he's got the car set up so well to be able to stay there, and he just hammers away at it. And once again, the consistency I mentioned earlier is the answer. Here's Jeremy Dale going by.
Now, Feldman, you'll see him dart out here as there's traffic in the back that's using all of the racetrack and more. There's Feldman. You see him on the left-hand side of your screen. Straightaway speeds here, by the way, were in the vicinity of 140-plus miles per hour.
We talked about wings before. Here's the case again where Bruce is probably running a little bit more wing, but has been able to slipstream, past these cars. They're running on the NASCAR course, and they're using the same tactics that a NASCAR driver would use.
Now, just consider if Feldman had not had to start in scratch position after that pit stop on the first yellow flag. At number 9 there, remember that's Bobby Carvel, who's come to the series. He's having another strong day. Hit the series with a pretty good splash here in mid-season, and the trek of Feldman continues.
And this is a really tough pass. You're going about 110 miles an hour through that corner. It's difficult for both drivers. A real gutsy move.
You know, I'll tell you, with the visible improvement of Feldman from 1986 to 87, and after his performance today, I really thought he was en route to the championship.
And here's Feldman proving it again with that drafting.
But as it gets late in the race here, though, Peter, the sands in the hourglass just don't stay in the top half long enough. There is Ken Murillo, who has led this race. He's been very solid. And I know that Feldman moved up, but I had the feeling that Murillo was controlling the intervals here, watching the race in his rearview mirrors.
He was indeed. And here we have Giuseppe Cipriani with a spectacular spin and just about saving going into the pit lane.
Giuseppe had some good races in mid-season. This one didn't end up right. In the final lap, you can see Murillo has moved up to the shadows of Murillo. Now watch Feldman give it all he has, Tim Richmond style, coming out of the final turn on the long course at Watkins Glen. He used it all up, but it just wasn't enough. And Ken Murillo wins for the 3rd time in the 1987 season. For most American race drivers, they never race on a track longer than the 4 miles of Road America. This is the 2nd time the Barber Saab cars, you see Ken Murillo taking a big jump at the start, raced in the same car with the kart Indy cars.
Hendrik Tincati, who was on the pole here, got an absolutely terrible start, ended up in 5th spot. And you see Jeremy Dale actually nicking. Yep, he did get by.
Tincati, by the way, is in a bright red car, one of the most poetic names in all of racing, the Holland racer. He was fast, he was strong. You see him making a big move there on the right-hand side of your screen. He smokes her into turn 5 at the bottom of the hill at Road America and gets by with it. I thought he might have been heading in too quick.
That was a gutsy move. I think he actually missed a gear on exit there, so everybody was
So you're telling me that was a mistake and it wasn't calculated, huh?
I don't think so.
Murillo is in a posture that he's been so many times this year, running near the front. There you can see Feldman is also another one of the people up front. But the competition was really good, considering how long this track was.
And the race did stay fairly tight. Jeremy was able to get way out in the lead and stay there. And here we have Nick Comlin is spun, and no littering, please, at this racetrack.
And he thinks the better of it, picks up the gloves. After all, they do cost $70 or $80, and this is a series not about economics, supposedly, so he retrieves the litter.
That's right, and that brings up a good point. This kind of racing in the Barber Saab Pro Series is, relatively speaking, economical.
if nothing else, it puts everybody on the same scale. And in every series of racing, you'll hear drivers talk about, well, how fast do you want to go? How much money do you want to spend? But in this type of racing, everybody is on the same scale.
And here's Feldman again making a move and a charge. That's Tenkati, who's making it a little tough to get by, and he's going to take a little peek here. Tenkati looks over, looking like he's going to give it to him, but Bruce says, that's okay.
Pretty unusual for Feldman. More often than not, Bruce will just keep his leg in it and go for the position. There you see him still dueling with Tenkati. But this was not the duel for first place. This was a race that would belong to the Canadian Jeremy Dale. Jeremy Dale rolls in the victory lane, having won his third race of the 1987 season. Murillo the leader, Dale now second in point standings. Just 3 races remain now on this year's schedule. This is the second street race of this season. There you see the green flag. Henrik Tenkati takes the lead this time. He is able to pull off what he failed at Road America.
Larry, this is an extremely slick surface. These guys have been out here with the GTP cars and no rubber is down. You see the cars sliding around there, and there's a Stupanen going straight, almost kissing the tire wall, and Feldman almost bagging him on the way by. He's lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions in that, and we've had a big crash here.
First major one of the year, Andy Sweat and Greg Hobbs are the 2 primary participants in this. You see both of them getting out of the way in a big hurry because that is a precarious place. Cement, of course, lining as it does every road course. Debris on the racetrack coming around the field, nowhere to go. Robbie Buell picks up the debris and then slides into the car of Andy Sweat.
And what a shame. He'd had a clean slate up until that point and hadn't even dinged a car one time, but gave it a good whack here.
Back up front, there you see Feldman going by, Murillo. And that blue car, that blue number 8, almost losing it there, is Will Henderson, another new name to the series.
A new name indeed, and a guy who hasn't raced in 3 years. Certainly showing his stuff here.
Up front, Feldman is putting the pressures on the number 21 car of Tenkati. Feldman and Tenkati, looks like a major crash coming up. Can they hold on? Can they stay off of each other? You bet. There's Jeremy Dale. He also is now making a move to the front. He improves his position coming down that straightaway.
Some hard braking going in here and loses it. I mentioned the slick track before, and here's Tenkati going wide as a result and losing 5 places, back to 6th place now.
And only 2 laps to go in the race at this point. A very competitive race. Here comes Canadian Jeremy Dale, and he does the same thing. He obviously did not go to school on Tenkati's miscue the previous lap.
An uncharacteristic mistake.
Now a look at the new point standings. Bruce Feldman is a confident and rising 3rd place behind Jeremy Dale and Ken Murillo. Feldman's back about 28 points.
After this, 2 races on the schedule remain. First of all, the second Watkins Glen race was won by Bruce Feldman. His 3rd win of the year kept him in the points. And the final race, for the first time in the 2-year history of the series, run in a driving downpour, won by Juan Manuel Fangio II, a one-off drive for him. But the points champion was the man that everybody kind of assumed was going to win it anyway, way back as early as June.
They did, and the fact that he was as consistent as he was the answer.
That driver was Ken Murillo. Ken had 3 wins, as a number of drivers did. The series, once again this year, was competitive as it was a year ago. Second in points was Bruce Feldman, who scored 136 points. Jeremy Dale was 3rd, Tim Caldwell 4th, and Greg Hobbs was 5th. Back with final comments in just a few moments, right after these words. Joining Peter and me, series manager Mike Rand. And Mike, you obviously have a successful series, but I hear there are some changes in the wind. Why?
Well, Larry, we feel like the basic structure of the series works very well, and that's not going to change, but we have some interesting mechanical developments. We're going to go with a much wider wheel and a wider and stickier tire, a racing slick. We want to make the cars considerably faster around the racetrack. We also have 3 Swedish engineers working with us right now on the electronics, developing another 20 to 30 horsepower reliably, a little bit more RPM, a little bit more noise, should make the cars considerably quicker.
Peter, if you were a competitor in the series, what would you look toward in the future?
Well, this is a series that's called a stepping stone. I would be looking towards, most likely, Indy cars. But of course, money comes into play. You've proven your ability by winning this championship. you got to go out there and work to get those sponsors.
Michael, you have provided the forum, the series, but I think some of the onus is on the competitors now.
We think it is. We've given them the exposure through the television. It's up to them to do something with it.
So the conclusion of the second ever Barber Saab Pro Series, and Ken Murillo, a man that looked like he was going to be a shoo-in for the champion, finally wins it after a great drive in the last race of the season. The 1987 Barber Saab Series. For Mike Rand, Peter Kuhn, this is Larry Nuber. Thanks for joining us, everyone. So long. This Barber Saab season review has been brought to you by B.F. Goodrich TA Radials. We make your car perform. By Quaker State Motor Oil, new Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And by Saab, test drive a new Saab at your local Saab dealer.
Miami has always attracted whatever is fast, competitive, and thrilling. Fittingly then, this exciting international city was selected as the site for the kickoff and the finale of the 12-race Barber Saab Pro Series for 1988. These open cockpit racers would leave South Florida after the first race in late February to compete on some of the most famous racing complexes in North America. But they'd be back in November to crown a champion in a most dramatic way. In the season opener in Miami, John Estupinian of Bogota, Colombia, qualified fastest and then crashed. Barber Saab mechanics repaired his car Saturday night, and he watched in his side mirrors on Sunday as 6 of the record 31 competitors crashed. Number 81, John Estupinian, takes the early lead. Bob Marshall with you, Derek Bell alongside, and Derek, these are very, very tricky cars on a tight street course like this, I would imagine.
Very difficult indeed, and in fact there's somebody already running rather slowly right in the middle of the pack, which is slowing them down. There's nothing you'd want worse than that. I'm surprised they got through and delighted they got through turns 1 and 2 without any problems at all. Very difficult for them.
Boy, you see a wide variety of lines, and there we see one car already into the wall. That might be the guy you were talking about, Derek. We'll see if we can get a look at what car number that is. And it looks as though the driver's going to get out okay. Quickly, John Estupinian builds up a big 3-car lead over Andy Sweat, who started alongside him. Oh, we've got a big crash now. They've hit the tire wall somewhere on the back side of the course. Looks like a couple of cars are going to be able to get disengaged and back in the race. We had 4 originally involved. Look at the lead for John Estupinian, 21 years old, out of Bogota, Colombia, a student at Miami-Dade College here in the city of Miami. Very much the hometown favorite in this race.
Yeah, he knows this track very well. Apparently he lives right here and he walks the track nearly every day, and he runs it and he cycles it and he drives it, much to the amazement of the workers around here, but he knows it intimately, and obviously he's desperate and very professional about winning. Another wreck.
Oh, we've got another wreck, and this one's a big one. Looks like the 13 car has moved the tire barrier all the way from the sidewall. That's George Sutcliffe out of Odessa, Texas.
Oh boy. He really has hit the tire wall, hasn't he?
Now keep in mind, this is only a 20-lap race. When they come by, there'll be 9 laps remaining, and he has really reorganized the race course down there. Looks like he's down around the turn 10 area. Yeah. Safety workers looking over George Sutcliffe as you see him there. This is a man who started his racing career as a crewman for Danny Sullivan in the old Can-Am days, made his fortune restoring Corvettes, and it looks as though George Sutcliffe is okay, except for probably a severely bruised ego.
Yeah, I bet he wishes he was working for Danny Sullivan today.
Now you see that another driver has plowed into the wreckage created by that accident suffered by George Sutcliffe. It's a white car with red trim. I can't get a good look at it from here. It's car number 27, we're now hearing from officials. And that is Giuseppe Cipriani from Venice, Italy, running in the Barber Saab Series today. So we
the
are
Miami race finished under caution, and Estupinian claimed the $6,000 first prize. The question was, how many cars would be ready for the next event? Barber Saab, equally prepared cars designed to focus entirely on the driver's growing skills. Each is powered by a Saab engine designed to last forever, and both designs have worked. You can wreck these cars, and you can beat them around every weekend, but you can't destroy them. Precisely the formula Skip Barber was looking for 3 years ago when he began the series.
We needed a car company that had a really suitable motor. That meant a pretty powerful motor and a reliable motor. We also needed a car company that had a good reason to go racing. And Saab really fit the bill. Actually, when we made the decision to go with Saab, at that point we had our choice of 3 manufacturers. And we've had the opportunity to go with quite a few since.
Saab Scania is delighted.
For while Barber, who operates racing schools and ran the Formula Ford series since the mid-70s, was looking for a durable engine, Bob Sinclair of Saab was looking for a way to demonstrate the strength of his product.
I like motorsports. I've been involved in one form or other of motorsports for the past 30 years. And when Skip came along with his dream of a series with equally matched cars with identical power plants, it seemed a natural for us.
And so in the third season of this association, the Miami damage was repaired and the same cars moved north to Rhode Atlanta, where Norway's Harold Heisman made his American racing debut with a victory in a car he had never even laid eyes on until 3 days before the race. It is often that way in the Barber Saab Pro Series, where drivers only have to exhibit the determination, the willingness to test themselves, and have the entrance fee of $5,400 each weekend to compete.
We do all the preparation. A driver basically has, a driver that runs the whole season has the same car for the season. Usually he has the same mechanics for the season. We do all the work. He just shows up. He shows up for the races. He shows up for the test days. He can make most of the adjustments to the car that you can to any other race car. There are a few things for cost we exclude. For example, we don't change spring rates every weekend. We run one set of spring rates for the whole year. But he can make all the aerodynamic changes, the shocks or double adjustable changes, the toe-in, tire pressures, all those things, all the wing angles, sway bars.
Bruce Feldman of New Jersey is the only man to have started in every single one of the Barber Saab Pro Series races over the past 3 years. In the first two events of 1988, he finished in mid-pack. That set the tone for what would be a very consistent season. And consistency, picking up top 10 points in each race, is the key to success in the Barber Saab Pro Series. We have a green flag at the start-finish line, and quickly Mark Jurenko out and away. And just as quickly, Bruce Feldman has John Cochran in his mirrors, and it's a three-way battle up front. There you saw the blue car in the back of John Estupinian.
Well, again, with Jurenko and Feldman qualifying only thousandths of a second apart, it's a case of precision and keeping that precision throughout the race. Oh, and there's an example right there. Off the track, dropped a couple of wheels. Not really a problem, but he's lost the possession now.
And quickly, Bruce Feldman there to take advantage. They go side by side. They don't have fenders, and down into turn 7. Bruce Feldman takes the lead from Mark Jurenko.
Excellent piece of driving, and again, the precision is so important in these cars. They are.
Feldman won his first race of the '88 season at West Palm Beach, Florida, by little more than 1 second.
To win races in that type of a car, you don't have the extra horsepower or an unfair advantage in the preparation or anything else. So it's something that comes out in the driver's race where he has to give that extra little bit, and it's a great teaching experience, learning experience for the driver to be able to pull out that extra little bit.
While drivers learn on the racing circuit, Saab also continues to be amazed at what it is learning about their engines. The exact same 16-valve turbo engine Saab puts in its passenger cars.
I remember back in the mid-60s, I visited Roger Penske's race shop, and I saw a bunch of Chevrolet engines and gearboxes in crates stacked right up to the ceiling, and they had stenciled on them something I thought was really neat. It said, "For testing to destruction only." And really, that's what you do in racing. We have learned a few things. Racing, of course, puts the engine to the ultimate test. We've learned some things about isolating the electronics from high-frequency vibrations and stuff like that, but basically nothing's broken. It's wonderful.
After the first season in 1986, a dozen races covering over 2,600 grueling miles, Saab was prepared to replace every engine. They discovered there was no need. Those 30 engines went the second season as well, without a single failure. It's a major reason why Skip Barber has found this the most economical way to go racing.
It's affordable because they don't become obsolete. I mean, you know that a car can win Indianapolis one year and the next year it's only good as a show car. We don't have that problem. We hope to run these cars for a long time. Then it's affordable because the motors are reliable. I mean, we went 2.5 years before we ever broke a motor. I mean, if you contrast that to any other kind of racing, it's almost ridiculous. People just don't believe that.
After a month off, the series moved north once again to Connecticut's Lime Rock Park. where Tom Dolan won the season's fastest race, averaging over 103 miles per hour. 4 races, 4 different winners in this new American series with strong European roots. Saab's reputation for rugged engineering began during World War II, when the company built airplanes for the Swedish war effort. In the late 40s, Saab retooled and began making passenger cars, entering them in the exhausting cross-country European rallies just as they came off the assembly lines. Their American racing history was short until Skip Barber and Bob Sinclair got together.
This seemed to fit in pretty well with Saab's philosophy. We're not building race cars. We're a small company. We're not throwing megabucks, gigantic millions of dollars at racing. We don't want to do that. That's not Saab.
This is Saab, Barber Saab. On this early June weekend at the beautiful Mid-Ohio sports car course, John Estupinian had the fastest qualifying lap. Tom Dolan had the fastest race lap, but Jeremy Dale, a 24-year-old Canadian, averaging over 95 miles per hour, beat Bruce Feldman by just over a second. Dale was the winner, but Feldman took over the points lead.
Green flag and away they go. It looks like car number 3, Bruce Feldman, did get a very, very good start, but watch this. Critical turn 1 for these cars.
And they go 3 wide, the number 22 machine.
Great passing move. Number 28, John Estupinian, did a beautiful job. Just got in very, very deep. You saw his car squig a little bit. Really nice pass to the lead.
And it's not over yet as Feldman in the 3, the yellow car, charged right back. The field making its way up into the S's. Estupinian out front, followed by Feldman. Behind them, Rob Wilson, the Englishman. And one of the white cars, I didn't get a look at it, way out of shape to the outside of that turn. Let's see if he can get back into line. Feldman will challenge Estupinian on the long backstretch. Now this is a repaved part of the Watkins Glen course. Billiard table smooth, very fast, and Feldman makes the pass. But outside is number 2, Tom Dolan, who won at Lime Rock, and he'll take second place away. Great action here early.
Great move by Dolan. Really spectacular. A little bit of a pause and concentration by Estupinian.
We mentioned there have been 5 victors in 5 races this year, each one different. Our 5th winner, Jeremy Dale, is not in the race here. Jeremy won at Mid-Ohio, but he's not out there. Whoa! And there you see the number 2 car of Dolan getting way wide up there in turn 9. Meanwhile, back up front, Bruce Feldman continues to lead. Brian Bonner continues to stalk him. In July at the famous Watkins Glen Road Course, Bruce Feldman extended his points lead by dominating the field. He ran the fastest laps in both qualifying and the race, winning by more than 3 seconds for his 2nd straight win at the Glen. It was a proud moment for the New Jersey stockbroker, unlike that first day he went racing 30 years earlier when he borrowed a friend's helmet to race go-karts.
I put his helmet on and took off, and going into the first corner on the first lap, the helmet came down over my eyes, and I flipped it over some hay bales, and the ambulance came out, and my mother said that was the end of my go-kart career.
But Feldman persevered, challenging almost anybody in almost anything.
As soon as I turned 21, I bought an ex-Budmore Cougar Trans Am car, and I towed it with a 62 Cadillac hearse, and people thought it was in bad taste showing up with this thing. It still had the rollers in the back floor and the silver lame curtains.
No more curtains, no more hearse. Feldman is one of 30 drivers honing their skills on the Barber Saab Pro Series. The Barber Saab Pro Series attracts drivers from all over the world. And in the 7th race of the 1988 series, Rob Wilson, a British veteran of European Formula 3 racing, who was encouraged by Camel GT star Jeff Brabham to try Barber Saab, won at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Bruce Feldman, maintaining his points lead, could manage only a 6th place finish. Feldman's racing philosophy, he once discovered, is somewhat different than that which drives him through the stock market.
You can still finish second and be a winner. If you've run a good race, you've got nothing to be ashamed of if you finish second. I've been, that 100th of a second back at the finish line to a guy that just didn't make a mistake the whole race. And I didn't feel like a loser. But I'll tell you, sometimes in the market, they take the money away from you when you make a mistake real quick, and you feel like a loser.
2 weeks after Road America in Portland, Oregon, the 28-year-old Formula 3 veteran, Harald Heisman of Norway, won his second race of the season against formidable opposition. All 22 starters shattered the track record, and the top 18 all qualified within 1 second of one another.
One more lap to go in the Barber Saab Pro Series from here in Portland. Harald Heisman apparently on his way to his second victory of the season, a chance for him to move up just a little bit more in the point standings, although Bruce Feldman will continue to lead easily at this point, as he has led for some time now. There you see them going into the back section. Once again, we talked about earlier, mostly just two straightaways with a couple of squiggly turns in between.
Really, it's a high horsepower track. It doesn't really benefit a car that is well set up as much as some other courses might.
These cars will reach about 165 miles an hour as a top speed, and on this front straightaway, very good possibility they can get close to that.
Very, very fast little cars. These are racing cars.
There you see Harald Heisman. He's starting to go through those last few turns. In just a moment, he'll be going onto that front straightaway. Now the problem is just making sure you don't make a mistake.
Yeah, Aria's waving his fist. I don't really like to see that. I think I might deduct a point or two off him for that one, but no problems. There he is, and there's that checkered flag for him.
There he goes, on to the finish line. Harald Heisman has won his second race of the season, easily finishing ahead of Mark Jaremko.
And so after previous disappointments in Portland, Harald Heisman found himself a contender for the Barber Saab Pro Series Championship.
I've been here for 3 races. I had, bad luck. The 3 last races, they were here with a lot of people. And this race is for my sponsor, Hydro.
Congratulations, Harold. 2-time winner this season. They're going to start calling it the Heisman Trophy if you keep winning.
2 weeks after Portland, Heisman started on the pole at Sears Point Raceway in California.
Here we go, 4 cars wide there at one point, just entering an extremely fast uphill left-hand corner. They have to get through cleanly here. There they have.
Now these are all equally prepared cars, 225 horsepower turbo cars. Oh, and we've got a big spinning crash. At turn 3 at the top of the hill, the car to the right, I can't make out the number, took a big shot hard on the left side bodywork. Looks like 2 guys are going to lose a lot of positions as a result of this first lap crash at Sears Point. There's the number 12 of Heisman, who is away cleanly, and I think since both of those cars made it back onto the racing surface and are ambulatory, it looks like the race will continue without a yellow flag. There you see the yellow number 3 of Bruce Feldman, who is your points leader coming in his 3rd year with the series. He's presently shown in 6th position on the racetrack, driving a very conservative race, and why not? He's got a 30-point lead to the championship, one that he very much wants to win before this season is out. And now at turn 3 at the top of the hill, we have yet another spin.
Now that is a dangerous area. If he does not get moved out of there safely, that definitely will bring out a full course caution.
That is car number 17, Jeff Stern, out of Scarsdale, New York, a 41-year-old, and you can see he has badly mangled the right rear corner of that car. That one's not going to be able to be pushed, I don't think, and he takes a shot. Car number 9, I think that was. Is that a 9 on the side of that machine? Brian Bonner, who had such a great race at Watkins Glen earlier this year, has tagged him hard, and he's going to bail out. Full caution is out all the way around the race course. The pace car will be out to gather up the field and close up the big lead enjoyed previously by Harald Heisman.
But Heisman led wire to wire for his 2nd victory in a row and 3rd of the season, moving him to 2nd place in the points chase, just 23 behind Bruce Feldman, who finished 5th. But Heisman's international racing career would take him away from the Barber Saab Pro Series for the next event, to race a Porsche in a World Sports Car Endurance Championship in Germany, and what a time to leave. In San Antonio, Texas, Bruce Feldman saw his chance to clinch the series championship evaporate when a clutch failed.
Feldman to the left side of your screen, and the yellow car slows suddenly on the racetrack. Dramatic turn of events here. He has a 30-point lead, but he cannot afford to give up races with 3 remaining in 1988. And there you see Bruce Feldman with serious problems. The visor is up. He's watching his mirrors, and that car appears to be dead in the water.
Feldman was running a close second to Jeremy Dale when his day ended. Dale went on to win his 2nd race of the season. Now there were just 2 events left in 1988, and Harald Heisman was due back from Germany for both. The series moved next to Del Mar, California, and the moment was at hand for Bruce Feldman. A caution flag had bunched the field. Bruce Feldman leads onto the front straightaway. We'd like to take another look at what happened to Tom Dolan. We'll pick up the action in his crash. Yeah. These are the S's. He'll be coming at you. There he is.
Look at this now. Right, wrong angle. Tremendous impact over there. Tears off the front wing. The rear wing is gone. Wheels, tires flying every place.
A lot of debris on the racetrack, but we do not have a full course caution situation right now. And now the longest walk in motorsports is what Tom Dolan's in for. Now here's the yellow car. Could this be Feldman? This looks Bruce Feldman, who got tapped by Jeremy Dale and put into the wall, and you can see that the rear suspension badly deranged.
Shaking his head.
Oh, what a tough break for Bruce Feldman.
Jeremy Dale went on to win the race, while Bruce Feldman's lead in the championship continued to dwindle. Now there is but one race left, and the 1988 championship will be decided when the series returns to Florida. And so the Barber Saab Pro Series came back to where it had started, to Miami, this time to fast and treacherous Tamiami Park. Bruce Feldman's championship lead is just 5 points over John Cochran, just 8 better than Harold Heisman. Feldman has been seeking the Barber Saab Pro Series championship for nearly 3 years, investing his time and money, hopefully in a strong racing future, and it all came down to this. Feldman won the outside pole position for the final and battled wheel to wheel the entire race, slipping past Heisman for 3rd place and outrunning him to the flag. Rob Wilson won the race, John Cochran was 2nd, but Feldman's 3rd earned him the 1988 championship. And now, with this in his trophy case, Bruce Feldman dreams of moving on to Indianapolis.
I spent 3 years in the series. It's time for me to move on. I'm going to miss it, though. I mean, there's great people involved with the series, and it's a great way to go racing. It's good competitive racing.
Feldman won over $30,000. He spent twice that, which is not unusual in any division of motorsports when you're out to win a championship. The Barber Saab Pro Series will continue to grow in 1989, and there will be an added bonus of $100,000 for the champion.
The toughest thing for a young driver, and you're looking at a guy who knows real well, the toughest thing is finding money to make that next step. So we would like to help our champion in 1989 make the next step. If it's back to the Barber Series again in 1990, if it's on to one of the other racing series, that's up to him. But we want to help him.
Skip Barber could use a bit of help too, and a broken muffler might do it. As he looks back at 3 years of Barber Saab racing, his only problem is a lack of noise for the fans.
We can't make the darn thing noisy. It's the only disadvantage of a turbo. We've run exhaust systems with lots of holes drilled in it. We've run megaphones. We've got to try and point it a different direction.
As an old mechanic once said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And one thing is certain about the Barber Saab Pro Series, like the engine that powers it, it doesn't break.